Hi everyone, I'm Robbie Herring and I'm here tonight for Flying Unicorn. We're going to be making a mini album tonight and I'm so glad to have y'all here for this show. Couple of announcements. The big thing is if you were here last week, you know that we lost internet and so this is a rescheduled show on a special night. So tomorrow night we have Shona and she is doing an absolutely gorgeous layout. So y'all will definitely want to move in or to move in, tune in. Y'all can move in too, what the heck. But tune in tomorrow for Shona show. And of course, there's all kinds of challenges going on at Flying Unicorn. So you definitely want to go and check all those out. And be sure to check out the store for discounts on things that I'm using tonight. It'll be a 10% discount. And I'm assuming that's all up. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and pan down to show y'all this album. And if you were here last week, you know I have a new camera, so it could be a little tricky. So give me just a sec, but cover your eyes if it bothers you. Whoops. Okay, let's see if we can get this straight. Okay, this may be a little close. We may mess with it a tiny bit later as we go. Let me get this. There we go. Okay, so this is the album we're going to be making, and y'all are going to know a little bit of it. And if you weren't here last week whenever we got kicked off, I'm starting from scratch, so you will still get the whole thing. And for the rest of you, the ones that were here, it's going to be a short little recap because we weren't too far in when we got kicked off. Okay, so let's start. So this is the album, and you can see that it's there's a little bit of mixed media. There's of course there's some mist. There's ribbon, which is my favorite. I'm obsessed with glass beads lately, so I put some beading on it. And the collection I used is Prima Butterfly, and you can see up close. Looks like the lighting's pretty good to me. If y'all have trouble, don't hesitate to let me know. I'll try to keep an eye out. Okay, and then the inside. I'm going to scoot up a little bit so you can see that I kept the inside pretty simple. And the big thought process behind what inspired me to do this album is all the canvases that so many of us, myself included, love making. And there comes a point where I don't know what to do with them. You know, I've given them away to my friends and I have them in my house, and I decided, wouldn't it be fun to be able to do the things we love, making the canvases, but then use them for an album and something that we could set anywhere. So this album is made out of 5x7, two simple, inexpensive 5x7 canvases. And that's this part. All right, let's get started. This is a pretty simple process all in all. And here's where we're going. These are our two 5x7 canvases. And I have prepped them with clear gesso just to give me a base to work on. And this is a 1.5x7 piece of chipboard that is covered with just the butterfly paper. This is the pink one. And what I'm going to do is this is going to be my album. So this will be the front, the back, and the binding. And to start off, I gave it a quick mist. Let me get my paper towels. And I think I have everything. It should go smoothly tonight, since I've had another week to think about it. Okay, so this is Prima Color Bloom. It's cotton candy. And to start off, I just gave it a little bit of mist. And I'm going ahead and doing all this together. If you get more than you want, you can dab it because the gesso will allow you to do that. And let me show you because I don't want these big blobs. But you want to make sure. And remember, on the front, we're going to have all the embellishments. The back, of course, where it's going to sit on a counter or a table or wherever you want to put it, we want to have more than we even need on the back. And then this is just a resin frame, and Prima makes these, and you can pick them up elsewhere too. And it's just a little resin frame. And what I did, and I just used my fingers, I wanted to add color to it. So I'm going ahead while I have the color bloom on my table, just the overspray, and I'm putting a little bit of the pink, and then when I go to the blue, I'm going to do the same thing. So we will be adding the color to this with our overspray as we go. So you can see just a bit of pink here and there. All right, and because I'm going to put paper on the center, I can wipe it down a bit, but I'm not going to worry, I mean on the center, on the back side, but I'm not going to worry about this overspray or any leakage on the back side because I'm going to cover that with paper down the road anyway. So this is one you can keep kind of going. And because of the experiment last week, I know I need to get a little bit of heat on this before I do it so it doesn't bleed. It is chipboard for the spine. It is it's 1.5 by 7, and it's just regular chipboard, not anything super heavy. You can see there, but it does have some oomph. It's not the real thin. But on the back side, it's going to have another layer. So if you only have the thin, use that. It's not a problem. This is going to be basically your outside that's going to cover it. Okay, next step is this is the stencil. It's 13 Arts, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was included in one of the kits last month, or month before last actually, and I have fallen in love with this stencil. It's just neat. I like the lines on it. I like that you can place it anywhere you want, and I'm going to give it a bit of a mist, and this is Primacolor Bloom Glistening Waves. And remember, my embellishments are going to be here, so I'm going to be building this way with the spine and then this way. Let's see if I can get spray. There we go. Overspray is not a problem. Whoops, see if I can get it flat. And you can wipe off a bit if you don't like it. Not a problem. And I'm going to scoot these apart a bit though. Same thing here. I'm going to dab this. It's getting a little bit wet. And same thing on the back that you did on the front. And this is just to give it a hint of the blue. I think the blue in the butterfly is so pretty, and it's included in the flowers and here and there in the papers. And I definitely, blue is my absolute favorite color, so I definitely want to add some. And again, I'm going to take a little bit of the overspray, and I'm going to put some blue on my frame now. Shouldn't have wiped it all up. So here we go. So now we've got a little bit of pink and a little bit of the blue. And the color is Glistening Waves. All right, let me wipe this down a bit because now we're going to move to mixed media, some other stuff, and some paint. And again, I got to give this a quick dry. So let me get my thing here. This color really, they're both really pretty. The Cotton Candy is just a beautiful pink. The Glistening Waves, it tends to be more blue than green, but it's still just that beautiful soft color. Let me make sure it's dry so when we start sprinkling, we're good. All right. Now, the third layer, we're going to use the same stencil. And I guess technically it's the fourth because I did put the clear gesso on. We're going to use the same stencil. And this time we're going to use some gel medium. And we're going to use the sand from 13 Arts. It's fine grit sand. So after we do the gel medium, we're going to sprinkle some of the fine grit sand on top of it. And again, I'm not lining it up because I want to be able to see all the layers, but I'm keeping the same shape for all intents and purposes as I go along. And this is just clear gel medium. And on the front, remember, I'm going a little bit further because I want it to show even when I get my embellishments on. I want some of this to show because this sand is really neat. We're going to put a little bit right here. And this is what's neat too. You can just go and you can move it, and because it all lines up, this stencil's so easy to use. So you can just get you a clean spot and go for it again. All right, so there we go. And I'm going to scoot these apart a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit on the center and on the back as well, or actually not on the back. Let me regroup that. Let me regroup that statement. So this is the front. Now the back we're going to skip. And the reason being is once we put the sand on it, I thought that would be messy. It could scratch your table if you put it on something nice. Let me wipe this down because we're going to use it here one more time. So for the back, we are going to use paint so it's smooth. So let me get rid of this. And a piece of felt to sprinkle on. Move that one out of my way. And that way this can be drying. And this is the 13 Arts fine grit sand. I think it's called yellow, but I know it's in the store, so you can check. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on here. And it sticks perfectly to this gel medium. You can give it a bit of a pat if you want, and that'll make a little more of it stick, so that's not bad. A bad idea. Okay. And this is Delana used the felt for her tiny beads, and I've loved that idea ever since, and it works great for this. I'm making sure I get it spread. Okay. So you can see, here we go. And then this one. And you can see here it has stuck a little bit because I didn't get the mist quite dry. But if you do that, don't worry about it because that will sweep right off. That mist isn't going to hold it as well as the gel. So now let's set this one aside. And I'm just going to roll this up. And what's great is that felt grips it, so it's not going anywhere, and I can just pick it up when I'm finished and pop it into back into its jar so I can use it again. All right, let's see. Here's my paint. For the back, like I said, I thought I don't want this stuff to be, coming off everywhere. It's not as bad as glitter, but it definitely is going to move. So for that, I did, and I forgot a paintbrush. I thought I had it all, but that's okay. We'll make it do. And y'all, you can do this because it's not a problem. I'm just going to use a paper towel because it's what I have sitting here. Fold it up to give yourself a smooth surface, and we should be golden. If not, I'll get up and grab one, but I'll bet you this will work. Okay, so this is just an inexpensive acrylic paint. This one happens to be Americana, and it's called Camel, and it turns kind of golden. So I'm still wanting to echo the look on the back as well, but have it have no texture. Works like a charm. So you don't always have to have a fancy tool, especially when you forget it. Now, I'm going to tell you, because I'm sitting here doing this, and it's making me know this, but to do this, you are going to want, it's going to take a lot more paint. So you're better off with a brush. And in fact, I didn't use quite enough paint there, so I'll add a little bit more probably. Bet y'all haven't seen this happen on the show. Somebody used paper towel to paint. Okay. So it's given us a hint, nothing major. It would be more if I had my brush, but I think this gives you the idea and the point of how it goes. So if you just do that, you're good to go. And let's see. Okay. So setting stuff aside. I tried to leave myself plenty of room tonight to be able to move stuff out of my way so I don't knock things over. And the first thing I need to do is put the lid on the paint. All right, next step is I'm going to dry this a little bit. Or I'm going to let it start drying on its own. And then we'll do, and we don't need this anymore. So it adds a little bit of a glare. So I'm going to get rid of it too. And that, by the way, is the Tim Holtz Teflon pad. Very cool. So the next step is going to be to build the inside. And this is already pre-done. And what it is it's balsa wood. And it's covered with a piece of paper, also from the Butterfly collection. And it can be any paper. That's the beautiful thing about working within a collection, is all the papers are already made to coordinate. So you can use whatever you want. And in fact, because of what happened last week, I don't even have enough of the, I have a makeup sponge, Pam. I just don't have it here. So because of what happened last week, I don't have any more of the same paper that I used on the inside of the cover, so I'm going to change it. But that is so doable when you're working within a collection. So this is a 1.5 by 7 inch because I want it to be 7 to match this. And I wanted to do wood because I'm going to hook a 3-ring binder to it. So it's 1.5 by 7 balsa wood covered in paper. And let me show y'all real quick how I'm going to show y'all with a spare piece because you're going to be able to cut this easily. So first of all, your Tim Holtz scissors, if you have these. Oops, it looks like we're losing focus. Y'all hang on a sec. Let me see if I can. For one, I think it dropped a bit, which got us a little close. Hang on. There, that might be better. There we go. I didn't think about this. It's not stripes, but that grid could bug the camera a little bit. So if you have these Tim Holtz scissors, for one, they'll cut your balsa wood. So you can cut it. And then the other thing is, here's another little piece I'll just show you. When you cut sideways, you can see, now this is breaking this way, but you can see the little pieces, the way it's put together. It's breaking because I'm doing such a thin piece. So cut it sideways for your 7-inch cut. But when you go to do the 1.5 inch piece, it's going to be hard to cut all the way 7 pieces or 7 inches. But the beauty of balsa wood is you just need to give it a quick cut. And you can see this side, you can see better. And you can do that, and it'll break it. And so then you can just do it. And you're going to cover it with paper, so if there's a little bit of a wonky edge, no problem. So, and these are already done. And what these are is this is, let's see what I got. Got 5 inches is where I did these. And the center ones where we're going to put our 3-ring binder are already, they're cut to the size of the 3-ring binder, so they need to match on the binder. Let me grab this. This is a Tim Holtz large 3-ring binder. And so, I'm losing my mind. So what I wanted is where this actually goes, and you can see this, it's going to line up because we're going to use the brads to go in it. So this is what we're dealing with for the pieces. And this is going to be our center now. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to give this a little bit of a dry. It's all going to make sense soon. Balsa wood's a really, really lightweight wood. You can actually break it with your hands. Not straight as a rule, but okay, I see that. I don't know what I said that was funny. Okay. Now, before we build the album, we're going to cover the inside. And I've already pre-marked this too. So where my holes are going to go, and they're going to match up with the inside. So once you mark yours, and mine, like I said, it's a 7-inch, so it's 5 inches from hole to hole. And so, but I've already marked these just to make my life easier tonight. So I'm going to want this one here because you also want to make sure where your holes are that they're going to, when you build your album, they're going to be on the right side. And this is also the butterfly paper. And then one other tip. These are 5 by 7, but if you cut your paper 5 by 7, the canvases aren't always exact. So if you cut your paper 5 by 7, it's going to overlap. So these are actually 6 and 7/8 by 4 and 7/8 instead. Okay, making sure I didn't just go dead. It was a little concerning. Okay, hang on one sec. And this is Fabri-Tac, so I'm going to attach it. Probably leave the lid off. And of course, now that I said do that, I laid it down and didn't pay attention. So I want it to go this way. Let that stick a little bit. This one's going to go this way. Oops, I'm getting a little out of camera range. Sorry about that, y'all. And let's double check. And I'm still right. And see what I'm saying? Even this one cutting at 4 7/8 is a little close. And by the way, these are also pre-inked. I went ahead because this is a large project and to try to make it through it. These are pre-inked with the Prima chalk ink edgers that are my favorite, knotted wood. All right, so now that that's glued, we want to add our holes. And Crocodile. Oops, this one. I had to go get new canvases too because I didn't have any more. And this one, I didn't test it, but it's actually a bit thicker than my other one. So it almost doesn't fit. Thank goodness it does, because I'm not sure how we'd build it if I couldn't get the Crocodile over it. Gonna have to do a little manipulating here. The good news is once you get it over, it cuts like a charm steel, or punches like a charm steel. A little bit harder on your hands, but not too bad. One more. And this is, you can see that kind of falling off. This is why I do not want that that texture on the back side. And of course, it's also falling off because the reality is it's not totally dry. Mine is not leaking anymore. The one that I made or I guess I've made it 2 weeks ago now. Who would have thought that they would be that much of a difference in the size, but they sure are, which does make it a bit more tricky, a little bit harder to punch. Give me a second. Okay. Actually, that's still not quite far enough. Okay. Comes right off once you do it. And you can see, even though I lost some of it, there's still tons of it on there. And like I said, once it's dry, you won't lose as much as I just lost. But since it's still a little tacky, you're going to lose a little bit. Okay. Now, oh, one more thing that I did forget, and let's go back and do that real quick, is this frame. I forgot to put some gold. Same gold paint. And I'm just going to use my fingers again. And I'll tell y'all, in all honesty, even if I had a paintbrush here, I would do this with my fingers. It's really the truth. Let's see. There you go. I don't want to focus too much tonight. So, all right. Now, before we build this, the other thing I do want to do, and we're going to also add it to the frame, which is what made me think about it, is I did do just a little bit of ink on the edges here. And I like the ink to be kind of light. I don't like too heavy-handed. So you can see I just added a bit. And I've already inked this one, but I actually was even more light-handed on it, so we'll add a bit more. Now here's what's cool about these chalk edgers, just to tell you, or the chalk edgers and the gesso and all. Let me get up closer. Is where it got a little close, because you have the clear gesso on, and same with the mist. If you don't like it, you can wipe a little off. So even though that wasn't really bothering me, I do love that these chalk edgers are movable until you decide, until you know they've sat or you've heat set them or whatever. All right. Oh, and the frame, which was the whole point. And then I'm going to add a little bit to the frame, because when we start embellishing, now our frame will be done and it will be dry. And again, you can see it's going to be different every time, and it doesn't matter. It's just giving it a hint of your color. All right, now let's build this thing. First, what I used is I used Hug Snug, and y'all know I'm a fan of this. If you watch or you even look at my stuff, I like this the best. And this one is pink. And how we're going to start this is going to be the inside. So you want the wood down, because that is where we're going to attach once we get this all tied together. That is where we're going to attach this ring binder. So you want that to be, and actually I'm take that back. This side is going to be up because the ring binder, this will give us the color. And then what's going to happen is after we get the brads in, to cover that up and to cover up the holes that are unsightly, that's when we're going to add our chipboard. And of course, you'll see me do that when we get to it. But that's why it's important how you place this one piece. And this is just plain, so it doesn't matter which direction. And let me cut a couple pieces of this. All right, so we're going to go through here, and it's easier if you use some scissors just to push it through, because you can sit there and play with it and get it through, but it's just easier to take some scissors real quick, and we're going to put it through, whoops, on each one. And you're going to be cutting these edges off, so if you poke a hole in it or see how mine are fraying at that point, that does not matter, because you're going to be cutting those edges when you trim your ribbon anyway. And then we're going to go, same thing, we're going to go from, here's the thing. We're going to pull it together. So we want to go from the bottom, where this one is underneath the bottom, we want this one to go underneath the bottom too, so it ties together pretty and flat. If you start mixing it up, it's going to fight against you. It will work, but it won't lay as nicely. So here we go. So this is the front and the center. The other thing is you don't want to pull this tight. You want it to be not loose, but if you pull it tight, it's not going to open this way. So you just want to have it just kind of sitting there, kind of loose. Give yourself, I would guess, about a 1/16 of an inch. Y'all can see it. And then I'm going to tie it in a knot to go ahead and set it, because that is going to be how we start building this. All right, so now you can see it's gonna be able to close because I left it. If I'd done it tight, it wouldn't work that easily. And we're going to do the same thing on the back. Okay. Oh. Got to pay attention to where I shove everything as I'm working. Okay, same thing. Remember, we're going from the back. Okay. Now this binding is where this is. If it's bent or anything in here, that doesn't matter either, because it's going to be on the inside, and it's not going to truly show. It's just really not going to matter. And again, a knot. And again, another knot. And I've left these a little bit longer than they really need to be. Basically just so they're easier to work with on camera. As I go, you'll see that you don't need this much length. So here is the start. So you can see now how it's going to come together. And we've got the pattern that goes all the way across. Now, I'm going to go now, and we're going to add this inside. And this, like I said, is a Tim Holtz 3-ring binder. And these are just the little brads that come with it. Just silver. And what I sometimes will do, and I'm going to do it for this, just to help me keep everything steady, is I'm just going to add a tiny bit of glue. You don't need any because it's going to be attached, but a little bit will help me just keep it steady while I'm putting it on for the sake of being on camera. And then we're going to stick it through those center holes. That's why your center holes need to match up with your, I did that and then didn't leave it time enough to grip. Okay, and then we're going to open our brads. So this balsa wood gave us a sturdy thing to hold the weight of our canvases. It's going to easily hold this. It's not going to bend or anything like that. Now, this piece is going to cover up all the mess. And all of it is already inked. So our edges are going to look nice, and we're going to cover it. One more tip. Make sure before you glue this down, you scoot your ribbons out of the way. Simple tip, but easily overlooked. Can y'all hear my dogs in the background? I hear them barking every now and then. So my son must be playing with them. Either that or they're trying to make him. And he's not. Okay. Now I'm going to try to let that grip a little bit. Good. I'm glad you don't hear them, Shona. It can be so frustrating. I'm making a mess because I didn't dry that totally. I promise this does not make a huge mess once it's made and once it's truly dried. Oh, it's still not gripping real good. Anyway, it will grip great with the Fabri-Tac if you are not impatient. I think I'm being a little too impatient. We'll just leave it open like that so it lays, because here's the next step. So before we tie bows on it, and I already pre-did this, I could speak. These are just glass beads that I picked up at Michael's. They're kind of a golden color, and I thought for a little bit of extra interest, it might be neat just to put some beads. And I went ahead and pre-strung them so that it would make it quicker. But what this is it's the Prima, let's see, biscuit wax cord. And this is terrific. It's 25 yards. So when you order it, you have a bunch for a long time, which is fabulous. Okay. I still have paint on my hands. All right. So to do the beads, you're going to go through and tie a knot. And again, these are too long. I just wanted y'all to really be able to see and for it to be easy for me to work with, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to go quickly and ending up with having things too short and things falling off. And so this was my answer. And you're going to tie it in just a simple shoestring bow. And then because I want it to stay, I'm going to go ahead and I want to make sure it stays. I'm going to go ahead and loop it and tie the bow loops into a knot in the center. Doesn't matter how long, they'll be peeking through, which I love. Okay, so then we're going to do this side, and we're going to pull. Let me turn it where you can see it better. We're going to pull these beads, and we're going to go under here. And let me. I don't think I was real clear there. You're going into this loop you made with your ribbon. So you don't want to go to where it goes all the way. So you can not see it here. Let's see if I can get in the camera so you can see it. That you can see that you can't see it here. So it's between these ribbon loops. And you're going to do the same thing on this one. I think I just need to scoot up and then I'll quit going out of camera range. And same thing pretty much here, except that I am not good at tying a good bow like this. So what I chose to do was just loop it again and knot here and just get it close. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to have that big bow here. So if you've got a little bit of space left in your beads, it's no biggie. Uh-oh, my screen just went, there it is. My screen went black and it shouldn't. And then I'm going to do an extra just for good measure. I'm going to do one more knot just for good measure to make sure it stays. And then on this one, I'm just going to tie a quick bow. And I'm going to leave myself a little bit here so if it unknots or anything, I'm good. And I've got plenty here to just use this to tie myself a quick shoestring bow. Maybe. Okay, and again, tighten a little knot if you can get hold of it. Nothing ever wants to cooperate when you're live. Yeah, that just pulled right through. That's okay. Because like I said, this is just, I think my camera is moving, not me. Okay. This is just to give you, this will just show a little, so it doesn't matter. And I love this too. If you haven't done this wax cord, you can mess with it and it'll kind of loop around a bit and all that. It's pretty neat. All right, let's do this other one real quick. Let's go ahead and do it correctly. I'm always tempted to say, okay, you saw that, let's skip that and move next, but then you don't have a finished product at the end, which isn't fun. Again, just shoestring bow. And a knot. And then pull it down. And if you don't like these knots on the end, you can always trim those off. And in fact, this wax cord does not fray, so I actually usually do pull it off of things like this. Let's see if I can get that to, it's facing the wrong way. It's popping on the back side. There we go. So you can see how it's coming together. And one more knot. And then let's tie us a quick bow. And we will be ready to move on to the pink bows. That's the problem why the other one pulled through. Now I can see this one's going to pull through too. It's because those knots, if I can't pull it tight. So okay, here we go. So you can see. We'll give these all a little trim. There we go. Okay, so you can see here, now we have the beads and our spine. And these are a little longer than I did on the others, but again, it really doesn't matter because we're going to have all of it kind of pull together as a whole anyway. And we're also going to use some of this cord in other places on the album and in the album. So however much, however little, if you like big bows, you like little bows, it's all perfect. Now, I am going to show y'all how I actually did the bows, and then I'm going to show y'all the easy way if this is harder for you. I like to take the ribbon, and I'm going to move this out of the way so you can really kind of see how I'm making this. I like to take the ribbon and do 4 loops, and I generally give it a pinch. Now, some ribbons are really persnickety, and you really have to make sure you go side to side. This crinkly, it's 100% rayon. We're going to mist it with water. It's going to go, I keep moving out. It's going to look pretty regardless because you're going to shape it with the water. So side to side, I like to just give it a little pinch in the center, a pinch. Let me get it right for y'all, since I do evidently tend to go back and forth between how to pronounce that word. And I'm going to do 4 loops. And the reason I say, this is not hard, obviously, but sometimes if your hands are acting up or when you go to tie the knot, it can be a little more difficult. So then you're going to just make sure that you're in the center. And this is the part that can get a little tricky sometimes, is you're going to have to hold those loops while you tie your knot in the center. And see how I've not tightened it? So I can keep messing with it if I want to. And then I can make sure I've got all my loops kind of the size I want. And then I'm going to tighten it down. And that is it. Although we are going to tighten a knot. And you can put a bow in the center. You could tie this section in a bow. But I liked it just being a little bit floppy. I love the look of ribbon on the minis, but I didn't want it to be the only thing going. And so if you keep adding more and more layers, all of a sudden the ribbon is the whole centerpiece. So there is one way to do this. Oh, let me get the water and show you. Here it is. Okay. And frankly, this is actually the fastest way. So, and then you can mist it and bunch them up a little bit. And this is just water. And again, it won't hurt this. And if it does mute it out a bit, that's okay too. But if you're just using a light hand, I didn't see that one. If you're just using a light hand, it won't mess with this at all, and then it'll dry and you're good to go. Now, other way to do it. And the reason I say this one is faster is because if I had not pre-tied these two bows, and they're simple shoestring bows, you would have to be making this bow, trimming them, and then you put them together. Having said that, though, when you're not in any big rush, it's all good. So you're going to take two, put them together, and again, you're going to tie them in the center. But in this case, your bows are already pre-made. You've already got your size, and I actually kind of like this size better because they're a little bit smaller, which are turning out to be pretty. Oh, and we're going to tighten a knot. And I'm tempted always to tie another bow, but I really didn't want it for this and still don't. So, tighten a knot, trim your pieces. See if I got all the edges for that one. Yeah. And again, beautiful bow, just a different way of doing it. So it's totally up to you. And like I said, for now, because the bows are pre-made, on camera even, it's even a bit faster. And see how this loop is too long? I'm not going to mess with it much online, but you can go find your edge and pull it a little bit. But either way, because we're just making this floppy and just kind of shabby and pretty, it doesn't matter. So that is our bows. And I'm going to do these others. And I'm going to go ahead and do these others with the pre-made bows because, like I said, I'm looking at the time and we still have to embellish. It is looking like my blog post is going to have to happen because I think the only problem with doing a mini album online is that it's difficult to get through one if you're doing the inside and the outside. And I kind of suspected that, so I have all my photos made and all that. So it won't take me any time to get a blog post up. Y'all can look for it in the morning. I'll have it up for sure to show you. And I'll also include measurements, and I'll take the time to recap on all the measurements here, the things that you actually did see, so that if you want to reference it, you can. And here's this one. Trim it. Whoops, I missed that one. Oh, that's good. I didn't miss it. I just wasn't using my good scissors. Not that my other ones are bad, but these are better for fabric. And again, we're just going to give it a mist. And there you go. So that is the outside of our album. It really is that easy to put together. And I really love the idea of having a more practical thing to do with my canvases whenever I end up having too many. My camera is moving tonight. Okay, now let me get to the next part. Let's see. We're going to embellish the outside, and mainly because I want to show you the products and show you how I went about doing the outside. And I'm going to move it over here where I can see it so I can remember. Like I said, it's been 2 weeks now since I made this, so it's kind of funny how you forget exactly what you did without being able to go take a peek at it. So to start off with, I started building the background, and I used these are just little tags. You can use anything. These happen to be ones I picked up at the craft store. And you're going to add, again, I told you we're going to be adding some more of the cord, and I've pre-done that. And let's get my brads. Okay, and we're going to use a lot of the butterfly embellishments. And like I said, again, I did this, and I really like to do this for an album regardless, because to me, when you're doing an album, I like it to be easy. That's beautiful but true. But everything already coordinates, so I'm not having to spend a lot of time picking product. If I can spend my time creating and playing instead of walking around my craft room for 2 hours trying to figure out what I want to use. So these are butterfly brads, and you can see there's so many in a package. Also Prima, and I'm just going to pull one out. I'm going to use the same one I did last time just because I happen to like it. And what I did was, instead of, I just stuck it in here. And then, there it went. And I went ahead and pre-made a bow too, because I actually do this. Instead of doing it, when I want it to be a pretty bow, instead of tying it through the center, I'll just do it here. I'll just tie a little bow and make sure that came out. Nope, I should have put my lid on. Put a little Fabri-Tac behind that brad and hide the glue. Pop it down. And then tighten that brad right back up over the top. And then you can hide the center, and then you still have a pretty bow. And like I said, if you smush up your bow, this wax cord's awesome because it will, I've got glue stuck to my fingers now. It will, it'll let you reshape it. And there we go. Okay. So then I've got pretty bow. And here's the other thing you can see here. You can, if you don't like where it's going, you can straighten it, you can turn it. You're all good. So that's going down first. And I'm actually going to open this up because it'll be a little bit easier if I'm working flat. Let me scoot here. Okay, so I think y'all can see. If y'all can't see, somebody shoot me a quick text. I will move. I have learned through doing these shows that I evidently scrap just a lot. I do a lot of bow tying in my lap, so I have to fight the urge. And I also tend to scrap real close to me. And because of where my camera is, for live, I need to scrap where I'm further away from my body. And I have the worst habit, as y'all know if y'all watch, of doing it without realizing it. Okay, this is a butterfly. These are the tags. They come with a whole bunch. They come with this nifty little match thing. They come with tickets. There's so many pieces in here. For this, I just used one. I used a round. All this I have pre-inked ahead of time because I knew we were going to be short on time. And this one, I'm going to hide. The center's not going to show, so I'm not doing anything with it. Give us some glue and pop it down. And I really am making this one almost identical to the other. Don't always do that, but tonight I decided it would be much easier. Okay, next thing we're going to add is, this is another, I think this is like one of the best values because this is the Prima chipboard. Let's see if I can get it without a glare. It's got the feathers. They're purple and green and kind of almost looks like smoky color, and it's got the sequins and then all these great pieces of chipboard. And so what I did was, I am gonna dump this, but I'm gonna dump it off camera so I don't have to deal. I'll say that, so I don't have to deal with it. Yeah, I am. And then I'm gonna use the same piece I used with my frame that we've already done, and I am going to glue it to the back of the frame. I like this idea for two reasons. For one, it's pretty. For another, it's going to go ahead and give me some height behind this frame. And for a mini, that's like so awesome to be able to have that. You can go as big as you want. You're not, you're normally not going to stack up a mini on a shelf where you don't want something with dimension on the outside. So you can pretty much go as crazy with dimension as you want because it's not a page, it's not a normal book. So you can see here, and we're going to glue that thing on the top. Make sure you get your ends of your stuff out of the way. And then we're going to add some of the flowers. So let me show you these flowers. Let me just set that up where I can make sure what I did. Okay. So I used some of these that are the small ones. Again, there's so many in this package, And I know it's hard to see, and for some reason my light is putting a glare on the packaging. So let me pull out a few. But you can see, don't mind the paint on my hands because I have paint and glue and everything. They have these great gold centers. So you're going to want to use a handful of those. Let me go ahead and dump those on the table. My camera's getting lower and lower. Every time I look up, it seems like it's a bit lower. So I'm going to dump a few of those out. And then these flowers, and these are all this is butterfly. I really did stay within the collection. I can't say the word, sorry, but I love these. And I really love them for things like this where I don't have to worry about dimension. You can go tall and use whatever you want. And I think that's great. And I think I used probably these two. And then let's see. And then the last one, which is where my blue comes in, I wanted to make sure I had the blue, was these roses. And roses are probably my favorite. If I have a go-to flower when I'm scrapbooking, it is definitely roses. So you can see, and I pulled this blue one out. Okay, so then we're going to add those. That's quick and easy. And stringy. Again, just pull your stuff out of your way so you can make sure when it goes down. And again, all of this is with Fabri-Tac. And although sometimes on camera it seems like it takes a minute, it does take a minute to let's see, I want my brad to show, so I'm going to scoot this whole thing down. It does take a minute to dry, but it does dry really quickly, and it does dry so permanently. But you do have some time to maneuver if you want to. It's not going to be exactly, I can tell you that right now because I'm looking at how it's kind of coming together. Okay, and let's tuck in our blue one. And you can see I'm not laying these flat. Let me see if I can show you. Kind of building them around the frame. And some of them are kind of tilted. And I like that look a little bit better than just going real flat. Things are moving a bit. Okay, and then I'm going to tuck in a few of these small ones. And this is kind of where your dimension comes in handy because I just put a little Fabri-Tac here, and you could just start tucking in a few small ones. And I'm not going to pay too close of attention. They'll be very similar. Like I said, I'm really not changing this one that much. And let's see, like this, actually the pink will show better. And I did tuck one somewhere, how about right there? I think that's about the same spot. Let's let all that grab. Okay, now on the album I'm going to show y'all because I want y'all to know this tip. So I added these are little punches, and I'll show you the punch here in a minute. But you can see here, because I forgot when I was making it, and they'll bend and they'll get worn out, and eventually they're going to break off, because the whole point is to have something like this that people can open it and look at it. So here's a little tip for you, and I actually do this all the time. This is a Fisker's punch. It's what I used, and I punched them just out of some of the scraps of my butterfly paper. So whatever one you want. And then what I did was I took two of them and I glued them together with a glue stick. Now, all glue sticks are not the same. The one I have found that's the best for this particular thing is the Rose Art. But you can experiment with the ones you have. It'll make them hard, and they will hold their shape. So you can see I bent these for the show last week, and they have been literally laying in a pile here for me to use, and they're great. So as they get partially dry, that's when you shape them. And these are already added a little bit of knotted wood, and I'm going to go ahead, let's drop that. Go ahead and close this at this point so I can start building here to the side. And I just tucked them in here and there, wherever you would like to. Doesn't matter, because they're just to give us a hint of the foliage. Make sure those are tucking down. And somewhere years ago, somebody gave me this tip, and I cannot remember for the life of me who or where, but I really am thankful they did it, because this has really been great for off the page projects or things that I want to get a little bit stiff. And let's see. And then the last, well, not the last, second to the last thing. So here we go. You can see how we're building here. And I don't, other beauty of Fabri-Tac is you can manipulate a little bit. I want that pink to overlap a little bit. So here's where we're going. And then the last thing, second to the last thing I did is I told you about my obsession with glass beads. So when I buy them, I like to buy the same colors and a few sizes so I can use. And I didn't tell y'all, and I did not save the packaging. So this is basically, if you go to a craft store, it's like a medium-sized bead. You can kind of tell, but not exactly. So next thing I did was I tucked in a few of the glass beads to pull this across to my cover. I'm doing it again. I'm moving it towards my body. And again, you can add a tiny bit of Fabri-Tac and tuck it down. And so you can see here, I have 3 different sizes. And since I'm sticking close, I'm going to do pretty much the same thing. And they're great because you can tuck them in and tuck them under. This one may not want to stick real well. I may have to hold it a minute. And then let's use one of these. All right. And then let's tuck it under. And you can just pick this up and tuck them in. And if y'all haven't used these, I know Frank Garcia did with some in his collection, which is kind of what made me think, why have I not been using those on my pages? Because I already have some. Of course, now I've started buying them again, but they are so shiny and pretty. And even though they're glass, they're not going to break. I think you'd have to work pretty hard. So here is what we've got. And then our last little touch for the front was, I took, let me find it real quick. Here it is, it fell over. I'm going to bring back the felt. And actually, we're going to go ahead and tuck this in here so I can show y'all. I wanted to add a little bit, not going to do a good job of it, but you can see. I wanted to add a little bit of the sand into the flowers here and there. So I used glossy accents. Oh, got to get my pen out. Excuse me. Glossy accents. And I just put some here and there. And just put a little bit wherever you want. And in my case, I didn't use a lot. Just wanted to pull it in. And then let's put some here. And then we're going to sprinkle a little. And I'm not sprinkling a lot because it's going to go in between and behind. But of course, when it dries, you can give it another tap. Give it a little tap. And there you go. You can see. And you can add as much as you want. And here's a little bit. Give it a little tap. Okay. So you can see So you can see that I've added that all in. And it's pulled it into, giving us some more of the sand in there. Here's the other thing too, is I told you that I wanted to make sure that I went far enough on the front. If you don't go far enough on the front, and let's say you have a blank space, and I don't, I'm happy with where mine ended up. But if I wanted more, the beauty of this glossy accents is when you get to this step, let's say this is blank, you can draw yourself a little line with it, and this stencil too. Whoops, got a little carried away there. And you can add in and fill in, and this stencil is great for that. It's easy because you're just doing lines, so you can just add in what you want and just do you a thin line of glossy accents, and you're good to go. And that, y'all, is the album. But I'm going to go ahead And because we are already at exactly 9 o'clock by mine, I'm going to take, if y'all don't mind, hopefully, I'm going to take about 5 minutes, if that long, and show y'all the inside and what you'll see on my blog. Because like I said, the whole point of this to me was to show y'all another idea of what to do with all the beautiful canvases I see you making. And I don't know if I ever really opened this up and showed you. So this is how our inside turned out. And you can see by the way I did it, it's very finished and very neat. And I do like things that are very done, but that finished off thing. So here's the original, and you can see I went, oh, you know what? One thing I'm missing, and I did want to show you all this because I've actually had a question about this before. Let me go back and get a brad. Here's another quick thing before I move on to the inside, is to attach these brads. A super easy way to do it and to make them to where they stand up is give them a tuck, and you can see here, and put your things to one side. Add a little bit of glue to that, and if you're a little generous, I mean, not that generous, but if you're a little generous, they tend to stick better. And then right here, where I have like a blank space, is a great place to put it to where I don't want it flat, and that where whatever angle you've tilted it, let's see if y'all can see that, it'll put it to the side so your brad is not flat. So it makes it really easy to tuck them in like you would the beads or something else, and to add the brads. The metal binder loops are actually Tim Holtz, and they're called large. Let me look at it again. I'll tell you. Large ring binders. Okay, so here is the original finished, and you can see the outside is really just all but identical. The inside is where I said the beauty of working within a collection. So you can see here on my pages. One more thing is I did 1.5 inch. It suited my needs. If you want to add more pages, all you're going to have to do is keep it the same length, but all you need to do is go as wide as you want. So let's say you have more pages. You want to go ahead and make it 2 inches or 2.5, whatever works for you personally. And then here is the inside. And I'm going to go ahead and just show you a few things I did real quick. This is real straightforward. I did add a little bit more. I wanted to make sure I pulled some of that wax cord inside. It's chipboard. I used a circle. I actually used a plate. And I layered the colors. And you can see that I kept things really simple. Here's another little tip, is that one of the papers has these squares. Well, I thought it would be cute to have those just as some little breaks. And so these are also, they're almost 2 inches, but about 2 inches by 7. And I just used them to add decor to the inside. This, of course, is the satin crystals, and they're also in the store. And here's the package. And again, it's a great value because you get so many. You'll be able to use it for other things and to really go over the top. Here is this. And this is just a manila tag. Let me show y'all that. Pulled a few things out so I could at least show you how I did it. A manila tag, and of course the chipboard. And here is the manila tag that I used, and I just covered it with the butterfly, added a quick eyelet, and a few flowers and ribbon, and we were good to go. And then this one here, you can see, and I'm going to pull it so you can see a little bit. This one here was on the paper. So with a separate set of piece of paper, I cut it out. And so I had some layer, and I like that. And the trick to something like this is, you see she gets real thin here. And I say the trick, it's my trick, it's what I like to do. And when you move that, you can see that little bit of glare there. It's because I cut her out first, and then before I get her glued down, I put her on a piece of transparency, and I did the same one with this one, and it's impossible to see online. I can see that already. But then I just loosely cut around it. Well, your transparency will make this not fold. So it's a good tip for this type of thing when you want to layer just a piece of paper. And it's also a good tip for in your books if you're wanting to do a sticker that you know, if you lay your books too long, sometimes they'll go flat, but you want them raised up for the time being. This will steady them, and they won't bend or droop like they would as a rule. And here's this one. I did the same thing. I put her with transparency and raised her up, and even though she's cut out of the paper, she's good. This is a Spellbinders. It's the Grand Nestabilities, and I cut off the edge. So that is all that one is. And like I said, I'm going to put these close-ups and all that on my blog, and I'll give y'all all the tips and all there so you can go. And like I said, I kept it pretty simple. This one was more about, there's plenty of room for pictures. I didn't do that. This one was more about ideas. And this is the whole Tim Holtz piece. Let me get this straight. And then here. And see, you can see I did the flowers here. I layered here. And then I used, this is the paper, and I put cardboard behind it, so even the back has a little, and it says love you, and I thought it'd be so cute if you did something to leave a little message if you gave it as a gift. And then these butterflies are also from the butterfly collection, and here is the package. Again, a ton of stuff in it, and so that's where those came from. And I think that covers the whole thing, and you can see how it will lay flat because of this. So we're good. All right, bear with me a second and let me pull you back up. See, not too bad. It is so hot in my scrap room tonight. I'm like, oh. So anyway, well, thanks so much for being here, y'all, especially whenever we had to do a repeat. I truly appreciate it, and I hope y'all come back and join us to watch Shona tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. And if you have any questions, please email me. You can find me on Flying Unicorn, my blog, and be sure to check out all the stuff going on at Flying Unicorn. Thanks so much. Good night.